Hello everyone, this is Dr. Gevek. We are talking about compensating wage differentials. We are in part 5. So if you just have seen this video, I highly recommend you watch parts 1 through 4 to be able to catch up with what we're doing. Okay, so we're going to talk about labor market equilibrium with some workers when some workers prefer the risky jobs or any job with risky or negative attributes. Okay, so if you want to understand the compensating wage differentials theory and applications, watch parts 1 through 4. In this case, we're going to talk about, in this part, we're going to talk about a special case where the workers are, some of them prefer risky jobs. So far, we talked about a job with an unpleasant aspect, noise, injury risk, death risk, needs to pay more than job without the unpleasant aspect, we said. Okay? So what if some people considered risk or job noise okay, even liked it? For instance, an example, you can actually work as a rock music critic or hip hop music critic for Rolling Stones magazine. It's gonna get loud. Versus a quiet job, Dell's user manual writer for Dell computers. Very quiet in a cubicle. Which one would you pick? This is loud, but it has other attributes that are attractive to some people. What if some people preferred noisy or risky job? Example, I would like to give, I don't like to be in heights too much. I don't have vertigo, but I don't enjoy being on tall buildings. You can't pay me enough to work in a skyscraper construction. Okay, I will go up to tall buildings, but I don't want to be working there in heights. Okay, however, Chicago skyscrapers in 1900s were built by Native American boys. Actually, pay wasn't good at all, but they would even do it for free. Why? Because, I'm going to get to that. Why do some people prefer jobs that are extremely dangerous? Because they consider doing those jobs as a right to manhood, okay, to prove themselves. So when that happens, when some people prefer the unpleasant aspect of a job, this noise sensitivity or risk parameter distribution shifts to the left and it actually crosses to the negative side. So this means some people are willing to work even if the compensating wage differential is negative. In other words, the risky job pays less than the safe job. Okay? So what does the labor market look like when some prefer risky aspect of the job? Remember, I'm going to go back real quickly. Remember, our market look like this. Okay, I'm getting there. So it looked like this, right? This is a labor supply for risky jobs. So this whole labor supply curve is going to shift down till this alpha minimum is actually below the origin, which is a negative number. So let's get there. So this is what it's going to look like, folks. This is what it's going to look like. So what does the labor market look like when some prefer risky aspect of job? The labor supply curve will shift down such that the minimum alpha is negative now, okay? With demand for risky jobs for workers E0D, this is the inelastic labor demand curve for risky jobs. So these employers need these number of workers, right? These percentage. So you actually will see no compensating wage differential arising. Actually, it's not a positive, it's a negative number. So labor demand and labor supply for the risky job. This is the labor supply curve. If we must mark everything. This is the labor demand curve. It intersects right here at point P. So here you see a negative compensating differential arising, okay? With demand for risky jobs increasing to E1D maybe, okay? So you need many more workers to build these structures. You may see compensating wage differential increasing. It can even become positive. An example is if the demand goes up, if the demand for workers at the risky jobs go up, it goes up substantially. then you can see a compensating differential positive number. Okay, so keep that in mind. So it's all about supply and demand. So compensating differential wage premium reflects the preference of the last or marginal worker who is willing to get the risky job. This is very important. This comes in quizzes. Okay, so this is a market equilibrium when some workers prefer risky jobs. Here are some, I put 3 dots means as a result. If some workers like to work in risky jobs, they're willing to pay for to be right to be injured, which is it sounds a little counterintuitive, but they're okay with these risky jobs. They don't mind. And if the demand for such workers working in these jobs is high enough, then you're going to have positive compensating differential. If the demand for such workers is small, then you might get negative compensating wage differential. Okay, so at point P, where we saw supply and demand are equal to each other, workers employed in risky jobs earn less than workers employed in safe jobs. So I'm going to go back to this graph. So if demand is not strong enough, high enough, you will see the marginal worker actually prefers the risky job, doesn't mind and prefer. So there is a negative compensating differential for these jobs with unpleasant aspects. So this is why you can explain why a job, for instance, teacher, I'm going to draw myself, teacher job versus a person, I don't know, a job with negative aspect could be a job that's cleaning, for instance, gutters, like the city gutters. That's a really important job. Okay, so this is the road, you have gutters, you have the sewage system. I once saw a sewage system opened up, and I don't want to describe it to you. I hope you're not eating or drinking anything right now, because the wall was covered with roaches. I'm just sorry. It's a job with unpleasant aspects. So you can ask me, why is your job paying more than that job that involves getting dirty, right? So this is one of the reasons some people maybe don't mind doing these jobs. Okay, so we are done, and I'll see you in part 6. This is a really important part where we will discuss the calculating the value of human life. We economists work as expert witnesses at court to determine the value of life whenever there's a wrongful death or injury lawsuits. I'll see you then.